And if you do like that, see, then you can read it, because otherwise it's all blurry right here. I have to be able to do like that. So if you just do like that, it says these divisions of the... Hey everyone, my name is Chad. I am a Jesus follower and I am the pastor at Henderson General Baptist Church. I am also a PKD of Preacher's Kid's Dad. Yeah, I'm a PKD. So, who are you?
I'm KK the PK.
Yes, and this is our first go at how to perspiration and humor in this thing, right?
Yep.
Perspiration?
Sure.
You didn't even catch it, did you? Inspiration and perspiration. What is it?
Inspirational humor.
Inspirational humor. So the idea is how to. So today, what we have in store for you are what? What is it we're going to do?
We have 10 tips for how to read the Bible.
Yes.
By yourself.
By yourself. So, or for yourself, for your family. The ideal is oftentimes a big book like this is pretty overwhelming. And you try to say, I want to read it. And you go, where do I even start? And all the words, they're upside down.
And they're small. Wait, what?
They're upside down. How do you read it? I don't even understand when the book you read, it's all upside down. What do you do about that?
Ta-da!
What? I can read. Tip number 1 is...
Version of the Bible.
Oh, what we're not going to do is we're not going to get in a big old debate that you think is the most important.
Well, obviously the King James Version, that's just a classic, and how could you get away from that?
Well, I personally like the Hebrew because I get to read it from right to left instead of left to right.
How does that make any sense? That's literally dumb.
No, it's not, because ultimately that's what the Bible was written in, was in Hebrew in the first place.
Okay, and do you think you can't even read that language?
I can't read it. I don't understand it. I took 2 semesters.
What good does it do?
I know, but it makes me feel smart when people see it and you go, what are you reading? And you're like that.
We're not supposed to be debating.
There's all kinds of versions, and I want you to know that there were hundreds of people back in the day, before we even got an English translation, they died for the cause to get us a translation. And then in the 1950s, there was something called the Dead Sea Scrolls that formed us and gave us even more old scripture that was written closer to the time it was actually written. So there's all kinds of new translations, and people get so tore up. Here's what we want you to know. Which translation should they use?
Whatever helps you the most. Like, whatever you connect with the most is what you should use.
Absolutely. So most of the time when you hear me quote scripture, if I'm quoting it from memory, it's going to be from the King James, from the New King James type of version. If I'm reading it and I quote what we do today, it's going to be out of the NLT, which is the New Living Translation. There's all kinds. The number 1 tip, the version you're going to actually read, use it.
Oh.
Yes, use it. Because it does you no good if you're not using it.
So just pick one and go with it.
Go with it. And it's okay. Number 2 tip is...
what to read.
Ooh. And how does that work for you? What do you do to decide what you're going to read? Because there are 66 books in here. 39 in the Old Testament, 27 in the New Testament. They're really, really hard to read. And I read this one called Leviticus.
The what?
Leviticus.
Leviticus?
Is that what it's called?
Don't think so.
What is it called?
Leviticus.
Leviticus. I'm reading and I'm going, what? It'll make a hairy man like this go bald.
Levitaticus.
Levitate. Levitate.
Okay, so how I pick what I'm going to read is I figure out what topic I'm like struggling with at the time, like whether it's a certain temptation or whatever it is, and I try to research different books of the Bible that talk about that certain thing.
Yes, and basically you could do that. Another way is I'm just going to pick a book out of the Bible and I'm going to read through it that week. And the ideal is do what's going to impact your life. So we have the version taken care of. No arguments on that. We're good. I'm not going to concern myself over that. If you leave a comment on there going, I only believe in this one, fine. I'm not going to answer those kind of comments because we don't want to get into that. Number 2, pick out a topic, something you're struggling with, something you need help in, and you find those things. You read a particular book. What is the third thing?
Context.
Context. Oftentimes when we read the Bible in the topical format, we'll pick one verse out of the Bible and we'll run with it. And you just run. And it's like being on a treadmill. You're running, and you're not going anywhere. Really fast. And you're going, what? So the idea is context. So if you read a verse and you pick it out and you go, oh, that matters to me, don't just read that one verse at that time. Go ahead and read the paragraph that is within that chapter and figure out what's going on in that paragraph. And then sometimes it's important to read that whole chapter, understanding the context that we can read a lot of stuff and it can make us go down a path that's not even true. Mm-hmm. So whatever you're struggling with, make sure what you're thinking about that scripture is in the basic context of what's going on. Mm-hmm. Number 4.
Dictionary.
Yep. You can Google it. You can online it. You can take a Webster's dictionary. You can take a Bible dictionary. Doesn't matter to me. You need to find a dictionary and be willing to know, wait a minute, I'm reading something and I keep seeing this word. Like anthropomorphism. Y'all never even heard of anthropomorphism.
I thought you were going to say anthropology.
No, not anthropology. So you're not going to see anthropomorphism in the Bible, but some of you are going to go, what is he even talking about? I'm not going to tell you. Get a dictionary. There are going to be words in the Bible you're going to see and you're going to go, it doesn't matter what translation I have. I don't know what it means. Use it to help you out on some things. Number 5. Yeah, I'm going to talk about this one. You need to use your first finger and your thumb. You can't read the Bible that way. When I open up this book, which normally I'm looking at it on my iPad, but you have to take your finger like that and you got to produce this little hole like that. And if you do like that, see, then you can read it because otherwise it's all blurry right here. I have to be able to do like that. So if you just do like that, it says these divisions of the gatekeepers were named for their family leaders. See? That right there is tip number 5. Or you can just put these on like that if you're old enough and you need to, and you wouldn't have to do your fingers like that, right?
Don't be ashamed of wearing glasses.
Don't be ashamed, because ultimately I want you to think of these 2 words. I'm going to throw out 2 more words. Eisegesis, exegesis. We never want to read the Bible from my standpoint and saying what I can put in the Bible. What I want to do is exegete. Pull out, what is the Bible trying to tell me? Which leads us to number 6.
I can't read.
Prayer! You gotta pray. You need to pray every time. There's no the whole idea of prayer is a conversation. It's a conversation where I talk to God and saying, what does this even mean? And sometimes you're not ready to see what it says yet because you haven't prayed.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's also important. A lot of times I'm bad about just praying after I've read, but I think it's also important to read before and ask God to help you to understand what you're about to read. And then after you read it, pray and say, help me to actually do what I just read.
Absolutely. And prayer is communication with God, but communication is 2 ways, which means the next point is number 7, how much to read each day. How much do you read? Because ultimately, when I have a conversation with God and I pray, I need to hear back from Him. The Bible is Him talking back to me. How much do I need to talk? Well, I need to think about not setting a time limit and saying, have I heard from God today? And when you hear from God, it changes everything. And to hear from God and to know how much to read, you need to answer these 2 questions, which is number 8.
What does he want me to know?
What does he want me to know? That's head knowledge.
And what does he want me to do?
Do. Heart moves me to passion to do what he says.
Action.
Oh, okay, action. Passionately action it.
What?
I don't know.
Okay.
And then when you do that, you ask those 2 questions. What does he want me to know? What does he want me to do? You answer those questions, which leads us to number 9.
Which is taking notes. And this is something that helps me a lot. I will annotate what I'm reading to help me get a better understanding of it.
Why are you against Tate? Why are you anti-Tate? Who is he and what did he do to you?
And note.
Oh, and note.
Yeah.
And note Tate.
And note.
So are you writing notes on Tate? Who is this Tate and what do I need to know?
No, I highlight things in the Bible that stand out to me out of whatever passage I'm reading, and then I write notes about it, about how it's gonna help me. Because if I go back to that and say, well, what did I get out of this that day? Then I see my notes and say, oh, okay, I see.
I got you. So that's exactly what I do. I underline things. I've obviously on my iPad, so I make notes and it shows up every time. And then number 10, we need to be what?
Consistent.
Consistency. Consistency on follow through. Consistency on doing it every day. If I miss a day, does that mean I just stop altogether?
No.
No, you pick back up. It's kind of like a conversation. It's like me with teenagers when I send them a text and it goes into cyberspace somewhere and it goes unanswered for days.
It's also like when you're throwing a football or baseball or softball and you don't just go whoop and stop right after it leaves your hand. You follow through and just keep going with it. And
And days and days and days. And they don't answer.
I thought you were done.
Okay. May God bless you. May you go over these 10 steps. If you have questions, if you have comments about another how-to, know that if you subscribe to this channel, we can help you out. That's what we're here for. So,
like, subscribe, and share with your friends. And we will see you guys next time.
I think that was a pretty good top 10 list.
Me too.
I mean, I really wanted to talk about doing it like on a treadmill. Read the Bible on a treadmill.
You did talk about that.
On a treadmill?
Oh,
Yeah. Did I push stop?
No.